Alright, welcome to Module 7, Part 3. This quick tutorial is going to show us how to thread text between text frames inside of a document. So, really quickly, in InDesign, when you create columns and text frames, you can actually take a text frame as shown here, and you can take a document that you wrote in Microsoft Word, and you can automatically place it inside of this text frame. This allows you to create long Word documents or possibly import something that someone else wrote and incorporate it into your design. Now, typically, if you're going to use a headline, you're going to usually just want to type those directly into the text frame. But with long body copy, where there's a chance for spelling errors and maybe collaborative people are going to be adding to this Word document, you're going to want to use this ability to place text and then thread it from different frames. What happens is when you place text, you'll take it and it'll automatically format itself to this text frame as shown here. You can obviously use your character styles and your character panels and change the font type, the typeface, this font size. But there's one other important thing you can do. You can make it consistent by what's called threading it. You see this little red arrow here at the bottom? That means our text document that we place in here had more words than there was available space for this text frame. So what we're going to simply use is what's called the output and the offset, and we're going to tie this or thread it to these different frames. You'll notice that InDesign provides many options for threading text, which means linking text from one text frame to another. And the text frames have an import and an output. When threading text, you're going to use the text frame ports to establish connection between these text frames. The presence of an overset text means there's more text that can fit in the frame. This red arrow is your overset text. So we're going to do a quick demonstration on how this works. For this, you're going to need to use, if you want to try it yourself, you'll use file 3-2 in the InDesign workspace off of D2L. Let's take a look at how this works. So here we have 3-2, and we have a couple different pages that were designed here. And what we want to do is we want to thread text between these different pages. So here we've already created a text frame. Let me show you what happens. I'm going to go ahead and we have a text frame here. Let me delete this text frame for intensive purposes. Great. So we've already created a singular text frame. And we've written a long body copy that we want to place in this, and we want to weave it through these different pages of our document. So what I'm simply going to do is I'm going to make sure I'm not selected on anything. Actually, let me take that back. Let me illustrate something. If we select our text frame, you'll notice that this is selected because of the bounding box. We can go to File, Place, and I've already had some Word documents created, and I'm just going to grab this one that says Greek text. I'm going to click that. Now you'll notice that when I hit File, Place, because I've already had my text frame selected, it automatically placed it inside of that text frame. What happens if you don't have a text frame, you ask? Well, let me show you. If I have no frame selected, and just click anywhere on your artboard to deselect the frames, you can go File, Place. Same thing, we're going to grab our Greek text. And you'll notice that my cursor now has this sort of cursor that shows an arrow with some text on it indicating that I'm ready to place text. One thing I want you to take a look at is, first off, is notice how the cursor here has at the top left a 90-degree right angle at the tip of the arrow. Now when I move it inside of a text frame, that changes. Now the text has little dotted parentheses on the left and the right hand side. That means I'm ready to place text into a text frame that wasn't previously selected. I'm simply just going to click. Now I have an output here, an offset, that says that there's more text that is in that frame. So I'm simply going to click on that, and you'll notice that if by clicking on that, now I have another arrow to draw a text frame. Originally in this document, a text frame was already drawn, but to illustrate how this works, I went ahead and deleted it. If you have an arrow and the cursor gives you the 90-degree, that's indicating that you need to draw the text box or the text frame that you want to place this text. So I'm going to click and I'm going to drag a text frame. Here you'll notice now I have my output, my import, and the offset text. Together this tells me that the beginning or the end of this text frame matches up with the beginning of this frame through this little tiny chain link line. but I still have extra text that needs to be pushed through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to click on this red line. You'll notice that the cursor here, or the output frame, turns from a red offset to an output port. And I'm going to scroll down here to page 4 of our document. Now you'll notice this time the cursor's changed to a little tiny chain link with a square. This tells me that I'm ready to link the previous text to this new box, and I'm simply going to click. Now, one thing we can do to make our life a lot simpler is if we know that we're going to be threading this text through multiple frames, I can do what's called the lock on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this key. I'm going to click it like I have been. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down the Alt key. You'll notice that holding down the Alt key changes the cursor from a little tiny chain link to sort of an arrow. And what this is going to do is it's going to keep that offset activated automatically, so I don't have to keep clicking the right click or keep clicking that red button until I'm done with all of my text. So here I'm holding down Alt, and I'm simply going to click. And you'll notice this time, instead of it turning red, I'm still holding down Alt, or you can release Alt, and it's active with the text frame already loaded. And then I'm going to come down to, let's say, page 6. I'm going to hold down Alt again. I'm going to click in that text frame. Great. Looks like everything's being framed in appropriately. And I'm going to hold down Alt. Still holding down Alt, and I'm going to thread it from this corner to this frame. And I still have my text selected since I'm holding down Alt. I'm releasing Alt. Great. Let's click there, and one more time. This time I wasn't holding down Alt when I clicked, and you'll notice that I still have the text frame. If you simply just click that offset port, move it down, and looks like I'm pretty much out of space for my text, which is fine. Alright, now what we want to do is, this indicates that I still have text, but if you take a look, let's zoom out of our document, you'll notice that this little tiny link has shown us where we're threading all of our text. So we go from frame to frame, but we can go from multiple pages and weave it all throughout our entire document. From here, like I said earlier, we can go through our character panel, and at any point you can double click on it. My computer's running a little slow. Highlight the text, and you can change it in the character panel. That concludes this module, and then the next one we're going to show you how to wrap this text around these frames here, wrap text around objects.